imagine becoming the richest woman in the world overnight? Well, that might become a reality for Mackenzie Bezos, who is the wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. The couple, who have been married for 25 years, announced their pending divorce last week. And CBS News is reporting that Mackenzie might get half of Jeff's $137.2 billion net worth. Billion. Yeah.
Jeff Bezos is a guy you all know, whether you realize it or not, because he was the guy who went and made Amazon and then turned it into a juggernaut that basically encompasses the entire world as we know it. Just in 2020, with the pandemic in full swing, the company saw all kinds of profits and stock rises, making Jeff Bezos even richer, which was good for him because he had just gone through a big divorce that took a chunk of his fortune from him. But what do you know about the woman who once held his heart? Allow us to show you what most people don't know about Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 7. The early life of Mackenzie Scott. Mackenzie Scott Tuttle was born on April 7, 1970, in San Francisco, California. Her father was a financial planner. In 1988, she graduated from Hotchkiss School in Lakeville, Connecticut. Tuttle earned her bachelor's degree in English at Princeton University with highest honors in 1992. She studied under writer Toni Morrison, who said Tuttle was one of the best students I've ever had in her creative writing class, which is high praise. Mackenzie even noted one time that she wrote her first book when she was just 6 years old. The catch, though, was that she lost the book due to a flood in her house. But don't worry, she'd write more later. After graduating, she worked for D.E. Shaw, a quantitative hedge fund in New York, as a recruiter and a writer from 1992 to 1994. There, she worked for Jeff Bezos, then a senior vice president as a research associate. Mackenzie wrote her debut novel, The Testing of Luther Albright, 11 years later in 2005, for which she won an American Book Award in 2006. Her second novel, Traps, was published in 2013. In 2014, Mackenzie founded Bystander Revolution, an anti-bullying organization where she serves as executive director. So, as you can see, even from a young age, Mackenzie had lots of skills, and she would eventually use them for all sorts of purposes. But of course, that's not the main reason you know her. Number 6. The marriage with Jeff Bezos. Easily the biggest reason that people know the name Mackenzie Scott is because she was indeed married to Jeff Bezos for quite a long period of time. Mackenzie was married to Jeff Bezos from 1993 to 2019. She met him while working as his assistant at D.E. Shaw in 1992. After 3 months of dating in New York, they married and moved to Seattle, Washington in 1994. They have 4 children, 3 sons, and 1 daughter adopted from China. When the divorce was announced, everyone was shocked, not the least of which was because of the prepared statement that they released to the public. After a long period of loving exploration and trial separation, we've decided to divorce and continue our shared lives as friends, the statement read. We've had such a great life together as a married couple, and we also see wonderful futures ahead as parents, friends, partners in ventures on projects, and as individuals pursuing ventures and adventures. But that got a bit more complicated when tabloids like the National Enquirer noted that Bezos was having an affair with TV anchor Lauren Sanchez. And apparently, they had texts and pictures that they not only were going to release, but Bezos claims they tried to blackmail him in order to get money for not releasing the stuff. Which obviously paints a very different picture of we're still friends, don't you think?
According to Page 6, the affair was brought to light after Sanchez reportedly bragged about the affair to her girlfriends, showing them sex and dirty pictures from Bezos. Those girlfriends then allegedly sold those sex and pictures to the National Enquirer. They weren't real girlfriends. Terrible. Yeah. So, ladies, what do you make?
Number 5. Her post-divorce fame. The divorce that came from her marriage was top-tier news for quite some time, not the least of which was because she was set to get a huge part of his fortune per the settlement agreement, which would later turn out to be over $60 billion. Yeah, she made out well. Now, Scott, one of the richest women in the world, a billionaire 10 times over, announced in July 2020 that she was giving away $1.7 billion to wide swaths of nonprofits, from historically black colleges to a crisis text line. The gift was stunning in scale and in approach. Scott was making a mark as a new kind of philanthropist. This was pretty unexpected for a lot of people, but that's the ironic thing. She doesn't really vocalize herself too much. She prefers to let her actions do the talking, or her writing. Scott gave 116 grants all at once, with very few strings attached, to mostly small organizations. They didn't have to hit metrics she named. They didn't have to create programs she favored. She even refused the thank you notes when nonprofits asked how they could show their gratitude. And she specifically chose organizations led by people with lived experience, as Scott puts it. Women leading women's groups, people of color leading racial equity groups. Think about that for a bit. She didn't just put money out there. She put it in the hands of people she really felt would use it to benefit others. That sounds rather wonderful, don't you think? And to deny even thank you notes? Yeah, that's something unexpected right there. It shows a humbleness that most rich people lack, which obviously raises the question of why she would go and do things like this. What led her to being such a curious person when it came to giving and spending money? The answer was her life experiences.
In a statement, she said that we each come by the gifts we have to offer, by an infinite series of influences and lucky breaks we can never fully understand. In addition to whatever assets life has nurtured in me, I have a disproportionate amount of money to share.
Number 4, her life with money. Scott grew up wealthy, with one house in a tiny Marin County, California town and a sprawling mansion in San Francisco's Pacific Heights, according to government and property records. Her father, Jason Baker Tuttle, ran a San Francisco investment firm, while her mother, Holiday, was active in the philanthropy scene. A report in the 1970s from the prestigious Fine Arts Museum of San Francisco mentions her mom chaired a fundraising group that organized a 9-course dinner to raise money for the museum. It was during this high point in her life that she really started to write and enjoy being a fiction writer, which you'd think would be a sign of things to come, but it wasn't. Because in 1987, she finished up her junior year. Her family's financial security crumbled. A year earlier, the Securities and Exchange Commission had begun investigating her father and his investments firm after a complaint. In March of 1987, her parents filed for bankruptcy.
I declare bankruptcy!
And so did her father's investment firm, which was a huge blow to Mackenzie and her family, as you could likely guess. The family moved from California to Florida, and although Scott's father applied to start another investment firm, an administrative judge denied the application. In 1990, that judge barred Tuttle, who worked in the securities industry for almost 25 years, from advising on investments again. His lavish spending was the reason the firm was unable to refund most of the funds it owed to clients, the judge wrote. So she learned at a very young age that not everything that comes with money is good, and it continued on in her life. Number 3, working through school. As we know, Mackenzie Scott was able to live a full life in terms of education and job security. But because of her family's money problems, it wasn't the easiest of times. At Princeton, she had to work a variety of jobs to put myself through school, she told Charlie Rose in 2013. Maybe 30 hours a week on top of my course load. And I got into Princeton, and I remember thinking, wow, this is a huge opportunity for me, she said, and was worrying, thinking how I hope I can juggle these jobs and still get the most out of my education. After graduation, Scott moved to New York, but noted I was having a lot of trouble making ends meet. She later told Rose. It was in this struggle that she went to work at the investment firm where she met her future husband. Number 2, the wife of. If you can't tell, Mackenzie is very much a private person, and she was very fine with doing that pre- and post-divorce from Jeff Bezos. In fact, one person noted that she was fine with ceding the spotlight, in spite of her literary success, because to her, it wasn't important. But it came with the side effect of her being the wife of Jeff Bezos instead of being Mackenzie Bezos. She was not one to admit that this bothered her. But you can imagine it might have rubbed her the wrong way because she's hardly a slouch. Number 1, Life beyond Bezos. Most people would think that life after divorcing a major moneymaker like Jeff Bezos would be crushing and humbling. But, as noted earlier, she seems rather fine where she is. She's doing philanthropy, her parents are well off, and doing things for charity. She now has plenty of time to do more writing and not be worried with Jeff Bezos' schedule, appearing at lots of events and so on and so forth. There's little doubt that she was happy with Jeff Bezos for a time. They had kids together and lived quite a life. But we think she'll be just fine on her own. She knows how to be smart with money and not make large mistakes. And she knows how to be private. For all we know, she's doing more than we think. So, what did you think? What did you think of this look at the former wife of Jeff Bezos? Do you feel you understand the woman more and why she's done what she's done? Which of these facts about her do you find the most interesting? Or the most curious? What do you think her life will be like without Jeff Bezos? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.